I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, and this is Fire Your MD Now. You can look us up on the web at Fire Your MD Now, and you can also call this station. The call-in number here today and every day is toll-free, 866-582-9933. That's 866-582-9933. Jot that down. In the next segment, the third segment, and the last segment of today's show, we will be taking your calls, talking about anything you'd like to, except religion or politics, especially if it has anything to do with your health. Now, I was looking around the internet a couple days ago. I'm 53 years old. I've been practicing naturopathic medicine licensed for 20 years, been practicing it, had clinical experience for 23 years. And I have never carried health insurance. Never, ever, ever, ever carried health insurance, because if you had seen the way medicine is practiced through my eyes, you wouldn't carry health insurance either. The only thing that health insurance is good for is for traumatic care. Heaven forbid you're in an automobile accident, a drunk driver clips you, or you fall down the stairs, break a leg, you're out skiing, break a leg, someone pours hot bacon grease on you, you get a third-degree burn, you visit India or South America and come back with a nasty parasitic infection. Conventional medicine is fantastic for trauma and for emergency medicine, but that's it. So I started thinking to myself, son of a gun, what would happen if, in fact, I was, hit by a drunk driver? And so I started doing some research, and it astounded me what I saw, because I have been out of this loop my entire life. The average cost of a stay for one day in the hospital, if you are unlucky enough to be admitted to a hospital in the United States, the average that you are going to be charged per day for your time in the hospital is $4,500. That's $4,500. And the average amount of time that people are hospitalized is 1 week. So $4,500 times 1 week, that's $31,500. $31,500 to stay 1 week in a hospital. That's more than most people in this country make in a year. And by the way, this is why hospitals are such magnificent-looking buildings. It's the nicest-looking building in your town. It's your hospital, and everybody drives by and oohs and ahs. Oh, isn't that a beautiful place? Oh, my hospital is just so great. Look at those gigantic windows. Look at those gigantic skylights. Look at the beautiful trees and shrubbery that they put around this place. Oh, my God, what a beautiful building. Well, guess what? That building, more often than not, was paid for with cash. No loans, cold, hard cash. And where did that cash come from? It came from the back of your suffering. Medicine in the United States is a for-profit industry. There's nothing wrong with making a profit. I'm a big fan of making a profit, folks. However, when you mix a monopoly with a for-profit economic system, the only people who benefit from that are going to be the people running the show. $4,500 a day to stay in a hospital? You've got to be kidding me. It costs $1,000 just to walk through the door. Just to be admitted. Boom. It's $1,000. So, my head spun around a couple times and popped off my shoulders when I started bringing myself up to speed with these numbers. So then I started searching around, and I looked at catastrophic insurance policies, and I found a couple. And here are the numbers that they were giving me. I'm 53 years old, and I am in excellent health. They told I had no prescription medicines. I haven't even looked at a prescription medicine in 35 years. The only time I took prescription medicines was when my parents made me. That's a whole other story. So I shopped around for medical insurance, and here's kind of the average policy that I was able to find. It's going to cost me $225 a month, $225 a month as an insurance premium, and my deductible, and don't you just love that word, deductible, right? What they're going to charge me after I give them $225 a month is $5,500. The maximum amount of money that they're going to charge me for going to the hospital and seeing a doctor or having any type of a procedure done is $5,500, and I thought that was pretty high. So $250 times 12 months, that's what? 250 times 10, 2,500. That's about $3,000 plus $5,500. It's going to cost me about $9,000 a year in order to hedge my bets against being hospitalized, which, when you think about it, isn't that bad of a bet, given that the average stay in a hospital is $4,500 a day. But these numbers are out of control. Are you kidding me? $4,500 a day to stay in a hospital? It's outrageous, and yet this is what we put up with. Oh, and by the way, with the insurance policy, it's only good for a year. The deductible and the maximum amount that I'm only going to have to pay is only good for a year. So if I'm injured in an automobile accident on December 29th, and I'm in the hospital for December 29th, December 30th, December 31st, January 1st, January 2nd, that's 5 days, I'm going to have to pay my deductible for the next year also in order for the insurance to kick in. You've got to be kidding me. And yet we do this without question. We do this without even thinking about it. We just do it. And I want you to think about this. When you buy health insurance, what are you doing? You're betting that you're going to get so sick that you won't be able to afford the treatment, right? Now, you can make the argument that having a catastrophic health insurance policy is not a bad idea in case something happens to you that's not your fault, like you're hit by a drunk driver, right? Or, you're skiing and you slip on a great giant big patch of ice and break your leg. Well, son of a gun. You can make the argument that catastrophic medical insurance, given the for-profit medical system that we are beneath the wheel on in this country, is not a bad idea. But comprehensive health insurance, forget about it. Just don't even think about it, because it makes much more sense to spend your hard-earned money in monthly allotments towards vitamins and minerals and nutritional supplements that actually help your body to fix itself, rather than doing whatever the heck you want to do, eating whatever you want to do, being completely uninformed about everything that has to do with health and well-being, and going to an MD when you're sick. Because I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and you can download the 25-page document from the front page of my website. The leading cause of death in the United States is your MD. MD-directed medical treatments kill 790,000 people a year. 790,000 people a year, approximately. 700,000 are killed by heart disease, and 550,000 are killed by cancer, which means your MD is more deadly than cancer. And yet you bend over backwards. You get nervous when you miss an insurance payment, because you are paying to gain access to a system of medicine that's the leading cause of death in the United States. And for a chronic illness, things like congestive heart failure and asthma and arthritis and osteoporosis and heartburn and constipation and gas and diarrhea and eczema and psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia and high blood pressure. For all of the things that most of us go to the doctor for, drug therapy, prescription drug therapy, it cannot fix the problem. It doesn't cure the problem. It doesn't heal you. Prescription medicines manage the problem. They don't get to the root of the problem. Medical doctor can't even cure heartburn, for goodness sake, but he can manage it with a little purple pill. Medical doctor can't cure asthma, but they can manage it with bronchodilators. Medical doctor can't cure arthritis, but they can manage it until the joint gets so bad that they have to pop in a titanium one, and then when that one goes bad, you don't get your money back. And by the way, one of the newest class action lawsuits now is for hip replacements. The original material that they use for hip replacements is failing, even though it was approved by the FDA. And there are currently over 50 class action lawsuits against prescription drugs that were approved by the FDA. That's because the people that work for the FDA, the people that advise the FDA about the safety and efficacy of the drug, work for the drug companies. As God is my witness, if I suddenly won the lottery tomorrow and had $100 million in my pocket, I would spend half of it on lawsuits against the MDs in every state in this country and bringing them up on racketeering charges. Because that is exactly what they've done. They have gone out of their way to keep every other medical profession out of the game. It's just not right. We do not have a free medical market here in the United States. All we have is drugs and surgery. Because all we have is drugs and surgery, our health is going to hell in a handbasket. The only reason that everybody is sick in this country is because everybody goes to an MD for treatment, so stop it. Ladies and gentlemen, stop it. Snap out of it. Swallow the blue pill and snap out of the matrix, for goodness sake. Your health is your only wealth, and going to an MD to address any health issue is a fool's errand. That's why we do this radio show. That's why my colleague Dr. Wallach and I give over 400 free lectures a year, over 400 free lectures and health webinars a year, because nobody knows what we know. And like I say, it's becoming my mantra. What you don't know about health will heal you or will kill you. So stick with us, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to be talking about your digestive tract and how and why MDs have gotten the whole heartburn thing completely wrong. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. This is Fire Your MD Now. Now, as I promised yesterday, in this segment, we are going to talk about your digestive system. And I love this topic because it really highlights for me, in extremely easy to understand terms, the absolute insanity of the MD viewpoint towards medicine. I mean, these guys and women have it completely backwards when it comes to heartburn. Any MD, any drug doctor in the United States will tell you that your heartburn is caused by too much stomach acid, and they are 100% absolutely wrong. I've been trying to get an MD to tell me what the mechanism is that feeds the function of your body creating too much stomach acid. What is it, Doc? How does that happen? Under what circumstances does your body make too much stomach acid, and why on earth would it do that? Oh, well, and then they'll shuffle and back up and they say, well, it's not too much stomach acid, it's a problem with the valve. It's a problem with the valve that empties from your throat into your stomach. That's the problem. Well, why all of a sudden is the valve bad? I mean, I lived for 33 years without heartburn. How come it's a bad valve? Well, it must have been genetic. Well, if it was genetic, I would have been born with it. And so forth and so on. MDs are taught a particular dogma which they hang on to tooth and nail because all of their colleagues are taught the same dogma, and everybody's wrong. Everybody is wrong. Max Planck, who was a very famous physicist, he was a colleague of Einstein's, came along a little bit later than Einstein, but he was a giant in the world of theoretical physics. Max Planck was a very outspoken gentleman, kind of like Dr. Glidden. And one of Max Planck's most famous quotes was, "Science progresses one funeral at a time," which means people involved with science latch on to whatever they were taught when they were in school, and they hang on to that for dear life, even if later on it's proved to be wrong. You know, the sun being at the center of the solar system is a perfect example. I mean, you walk outside. If you didn't know any better, you would walk outside and you would swear to God that it is the sun that moves around the earth, because it's the sun that's moving in the sky, right? I mean, you can see it. It's moving. Well, guess what? It's not the sun that's moving. The sun is staying stationary. It appears like it's moving because the earth is spinning around on its axis. Now, if you didn't know that one piece of information, you would be completely wrong. MDs, because they have no training in medical nutrition, no clinical experience with medical nutrition, have it completely wrong. Heartburn is caused by not enough stomach acid. When you have not enough stomach acid, little microorganisms start to grow in your stomach that shouldn't be there. because the environment of your stomach should be really, really, really acidic. But when the environment of your stomach becomes not so really acidic, all kinds of microorganisms can grow there, and it's the presence of the microorganisms in your stomach that shouldn't be there that cause what little stomach acid you have to squirt up into your throat, and that's what gives you heartburn. Heartburn is a nutrient deficiency. It is a deficiency in stomach acid. It is not an excess. So what does a medical doctor do? A medical doctor, a drug doctor, of course, throws a drug at it. He gives a proton pump inhibitor or an antacid, which completely stops your body producing any acid at all. Now, is this a good idea? No. Because your digestive system is a cascade. It's like a bunch of dominoes, each one knocking the rest over. If you remove one of the dominoes, all the dominoes downstream from that, nothing happens. So if your stomach is unable to produce stomach acid because you're taking a prescription medicine because your stupid MD told you to, you're not going to be able to extract any nutrition from your food, because your body needs the acid in the stomach to digest those nutrients out of it. If you remove that step, you're going to set up malabsorption issues and nutrient deficiencies, which is why everybody's sick in this country, because everybody's on an antacid. Why is everybody on an antacid? Because they believed what their drug doctor told them. Heartburn is caused by not enough calcium and not enough salt. You need salt. That's right, table salt. Table salt is sodium chloride, NaCl. Your stomach needs the chloride from table salt to make hydrochloric acid, which is HCl. So if you've listened to an MD, you're on a limited salt intake, because MDs are knuckleheads. They don't know anything about nutrition. When you're on a limited salt intake, you're going to get heartburn. So when you get heartburn, you go to an MD and he gives you Prilosec, and then 2 years later you get osteoporosis or osteoarthritis or congestive heart failure out of the blue. Why? Because you bet on the wrong horse. Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm Dr. Glidden, and this is Fire Your MD Now. Now, what do we do as sane, licensed physicians practicing science-based, clinically verified medicine that actually helps people recover from illnesses? What do we recommend people do who have digestive issues? It really doesn't matter what the digestive issue is. You don't have to really even dial in a diagnosis, because everybody goes on a blanket program. And 99 times out of 100, I just made those numbers up, the vast majority of the time you go on the blanket boilerplate program and your body fixes itself. If you do the blanket boilerplate program for 3 months and you get 80% better, but then you stall at some place in the recovery, well, then we tweak the program a little. It's easy. So what do you do if you have heartburn or colitis or celiac disease or irritable bowel or inflammatory bowel disease or Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis? Well, you do the same thing. You eliminate wheat, barley, rye, and oats from your diet. You eliminate oil in a bottle, fried food, well-done red meat, the skins of baked potatoes, yams, and sweet potatoes, and nitrates added to meat as preservatives. And you also stop drinking carbonated beverages with a meal. The carbon dioxide in a Coke or even Perrier, even sparkling water or beer or champagne, those little bubbles are carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide neutralizes stomach acid. So one of the worst things anybody can do for their health is to wash down their lunch or dinner with a Coke or even a bottle of Perrier, sparkling water. Don't do it. You want to drink that stuff, drink it between meals. Don't drink it with a meal, because if you drink it with a meal, you're going to disrupt the whole digestive process. So we recommend people stop those foods. And by the way, you can download the list of good food, bad food for free by visiting fireyourmdnow.com. Fireyourmdnow.com. It's on the front page. It's a free downloadable PDF. It's called Good Food, Bad Food. So go there, fireyourmdnow.com, and download that list. So you clean your diet up, and then you take one healthy digestive pack per 100 pounds of body weight per day, per month. One healthy digestive pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And the secret sauce, start salting your food. You got to put salt on your food so your food tastes good. And by the way, in 1958, and I remember this because it's the year that I was born, 1958, a medical doctor from Harvard University published a study that showed there's no relationship between salt and high blood pressure. It doesn't exist. Some drug company salesman told your doctor that there was a relationship between salt and high blood pressure, and they bought it hook, line, and sinker. Salt is an extremely important nutrient for the human body. You need salt. Start salting your food. Make your food taste good. Take your healthy digestive pack every day, and we'll email you instructions or tell you over the phone how to take it. And watch your digestive issues melt away. Watch your heartburn melt away. And then I want you to call your MD up who prescribed the Prilosec and say, hey, doc, I have an eye problem. He's going to rub his hands together in anticipation. Ooh, another $5,000 for me. What's your problem, son? I can't see you anymore, you knucklehead. You were managing my heartburn for 5 years. I fixed it with medical nutrition in 60 days. You're fired. Hence the name of this show. Now, as fate would have it, we have Elaine from Montana on the phone who has a question about gluten intolerance. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. It is wonderful to speak to you.
Thank you very much. How can I help?
Well, I've been listening to you as often as I can catch you. Now I can get you on GC, and I listen to Dr. Wallach all the time, and through that I got a lot of longevity products, and I got my health really turning around. I mean, big time turning around. I was on 5 grains of thyroid, and I've reduced that to 1 1/4. I went on a gluten-free diet over 6 months ago, and I am very, very diligent. I really, we buy foods in bulk. I cook at home. We don't go out to eat. I'm very, very careful, but yet I'm still having a little bit of problem occasionally. And so I guess my question is, can there be a cross reactivity with a different protein, say a milk protein, that could give you similar symptoms? One of my biggest symptoms is muscle cramps, like in the big muscle in the back of my leg. They just lock up tight. What's your take on that?
Okay, that's a great question. And, we don't talk about this enough because everybody kind of gets focused on the whole gluten thing. And, we talk about don't eat gluten, but we rarely talk about why, because it takes a long time to explain this. And if you go to fireyourmdnow.com, on the front page of the website, there's a link called Against the Grain. And it's a little video that I put together it's about 16 minutes long that explains to people why gluten is bad and why the oatmeal protein is bad, and it walks you right through what happens to your body when you eat those things. Now, one of the things that happens when you eat those things, so I'd recommend that you go and watch that. It's free. One of the things that happens when we consume gluten is that the tissue in the small intestine that absorbs nutrients gets destroyed. That's a bad thing because, number one, we can't absorb as much food as we could before because the tissue's gone. But number two, the small intestine is the barrier between the inside of the body and the outside world. And it's the small intestine's job to absorb nutrients from the food and put it into the bloodstream. When a nutrient passes into the bloodstream through the small intestine, it meets the immune system. Immune system's central headquarters is a network of blood vessels that surrounds the small intestine. It's like the border, right? It's when you go to Mexico or go to Canada, you got to cross the border and meet the guard, right? Well, in your body, the border between the inside and the outside of the body is the network of blood vessels that surround your small intestinal tract. So when you eat unwittingly, because you went to a knucklehead MD for your entire life and they didn't tell you this, when you eat wheat, barley, rye, and oats your entire life, it's like punching holes in a fence between two countries. So what happens is illegal aliens can slip through the holes in the fence and get into the country, and that's not good, right? You can make an argument whether that's good or bad, right? But in any event, illegal aliens can slip through the cracks in the wall. Well, the same thing happens in your intestinal tract. And this is how you develop a food allergy or an allergy to the external world. It's because you've been eating wheat, barley, rye, or oats. So, most people who feel a remarkable positive change just from stopping wheat, barley, rye, and oats are candidates for food allergies. Now, a food allergy is, in fact, something that you can recover from. A gluten intolerance you never recover from. A gluten intolerance is built into your system like the color of your eyes. But if you have a drop-dead gluten intolerance, 5 will get you 10. That, you also have a food allergy. So, what you want to do as you go down the track is either order a food allergy test, and you can do that through naturopathic physicians, or, and there's a lab in St. Charles, Illinois, that they do one of the best food allergy tests, in my opinion, in the United States. You can check that out. You can get your blood tested for food allergies, or what's better, in my opinion, is just to pay attention to how you feel after you eat certain foods. And, you know, if every time you drink a glass of milk, you get symptoms, and it's the same symptom every time, then son of a gun, you probably have an allergy to milk, and so forth and so on. So when you're able to target the foods that are giving you a problem, you just eliminate them from your diet for 6 months. Eliminate them from your diet for 6 months, cold turkey, while you're doing the nutritional supplements in the gluten-free diet. So I suspect that whenever you get a cramp, there was something that you just ate or drank that your body didn't like. That's the first thing that I would think about. The second thing that I would think about is you're just not absorbing enough calcium, or you're not taking enough calcium and magnesium. So, for 7 days, here's what I would do. I would triple the amount of liquid calcium that you're taking, the OsteoFX Plus. I'm assuming that you're taking that, Elaine? Are you taking the OsteoFX Plus every day?
2 healthy start packs, so I'll be taking 2 ounces of OsteoFX.
Okay, so that's what you do every day, is 2 ounces of OsteoFX, right?
Yes, that's why I was just so, wondering how in the world could I get a cramp unless it was something to do with a...
Well, it's possible. How much do you weigh?
140.
Okay, so here's what I would do for 7 days as an experiment. I would put 1 ounce of the OsteoFX Plus in 3 ounces of water, and I would drink it down 3 times a day. I would do it 3 times a day for 7 days, and I would put it in water first and see if that doesn't cut down the cramps, because it just might be as simple as your body is really, 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 really low in calcium. And in order for you to cross this next hurdle in your recovery, you need to overdo it in the calcium department for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, really to fill that tank up. That's entirely possible.
And that does make a lot of sense, because before I started on this quest, before I knew, I did have kidney stone, which is a real sign, and I had lots of arthritis trouble. Well,
there you go. So your body is like, before you started this program, your calcium tank was empty.
Yeah.
And, now you've got to, overdo it on the calcium front. And, again, this is an interesting thing to talk about, right, because we have a therapeutic intervention, which is when you take a lot more of the stuff than you normally would. And then we back that off to a maintenance dose. So I would increase the calcium dose, okay, for 7 days, see if you get some bang from that. And if you don't, look to see the food that you just had to eat or drink the next time you get a cramp. Sound good?
It sounds wonderful, and I'll call you back and let you know in a few weeks what happens.
Thanks so much, Elaine. I appreciate the support. All right, next we've got Ed from California with blepharitis. Is that right, Ed? What do you have?
Yeah, this is Ed in LA.
Yeah, okay. Blepharitis. Yeah, how long have you had blepharitis?
Maybe 15, 20 years. My doctors I've gone to, they say it's chronic.
Well, it is chronic. I mean, that's like going to a doctor with a pain in your elbow, and the doctor says, well, you have a pain in your elbow. That'll be $500, right? If you've got anything for more than 6 months, it's chronic. And the next thing these knuckleheads are going to tell you is that it's genetic. Well, it's not genetic. Blepharitis, which is inflammation of the eye, of a certain part of the eye, most of the time has the same roots that the eczematous condition does. It's a deficiency in essential fatty acids, EFAs. And you are unwittingly eating food that's causing inflammation in the body. It's kind of like if you had a fire in your backyard, you were burning some brush, or, you had some charcoal on the grill, and every 15 minutes you went out with a can of gasoline and threw it on the coals or threw it on the fire would flare up, right? So usually with chronic inflammatory conditions, anything with an itis at the end of it, like blepharitis or arthritis, right? There's a food or foods that you're eating that's causing an inflammation and you're completely unaware of it. So go to fireyourmdnow.com, download the good food, bad food list, and the foods that are listed on the bad food list, and there's only 9 of them, just stop eating those foods. Stop them completely. And I would also, for nutrients, order, this is an easy order, 1 Healthy Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month. If you take 1 Healthy Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight and clean your diet up, within 3 months, the blepharitis should be a thing of the past. And this is a beautiful thing. Look, folks, give your body the nutrition that it needs. You don't know what you don't know. And when it comes to health, what you don't know is going to hurt you or heal you. As God is my witness, we are here to heal you. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, and this is Fire Your MD Now. Now, 30 years ago, my colleague, mentor, and friend, Dr. Joel Wallach, was doing a 12-year research project that was funded by the National Institute of Health and many universities around the United States. It was a 12-year, $25 million study designed to determine the net negative effects that pollution had on our health. During one of those stints, Dr. Wallach was working at Yerkes Primate Research Center in Atlanta, Georgia. This was over 30 years ago. And while Dr. Wallach was at Yerkes Primate Research Center, he made 2 remarkable discoveries. Discovery number 1 was that cystic fibrosis can happen in monkeys as well as in humans. Before Dr. Wallach came along, cystic fibrosis was thought to be a humans-only disease. Well, Dr. Wallach disproved that. He could make it happen in lemur rhesus monkeys at will, because he discovered that the cause for cystic fibrosis was not enough of the mineral selenium in the pregnant mother. So when he withdrew selenium from the diet of monkeys, guess what? The pregnant monkeys, the monkey babies, had cystic fibrosis. And when he put selenium back in the diet of the pregnant monkey mother, the monkey baby was born without cystic fibrosis. It was a remarkable breakthrough. I mean, it was a gigantic breakthrough, which was published by Dr. Wallach. And when Dr. Wallach proved and published that cystic fibrosis can happen across species lines and that it is caused by and fixed by a simple selenium deficiency and selenium supplementation, selenium being a naturally occurring mineral in the crust of the earth, Yerkes Primate Research Center fired him. They fired him. And every major medical university blackballed him because the NIH called him up and said, if you hire Wallach, we're going to pull your funding. Why? Because medicine in the United States is a for-profit machine. And, you know, when you cure something, all the funding dries up. So if Yerkes had kept Wallach on, they would have lost millions of dollars in research, grants, and funding. They would have had to fire their entire staff, and they'd all be flipping pizzas for a living. You think that's going to happen? No. Dr. Wallach discovered at a very early age in his career that the front door of medicine in the United States is guarded by the pharmaceutical industry, and it is. The pharmaceutical industry spends $50,000 per doctor per year in free samples and PR. Your doctor only knows drugs and surgery, period. And there's no law that requires your doctor to cure you, even if the cure exists. So Dr. Wallach, after he completed the $25 million research study, and they did 26,000 autopsies, 10 million blood chemistries and histopathologies, they eliminated 900 diseases in the animal kingdom, 900. And by the way, those diseases crossed species lines, and they were all nutrient deficiency diseases. Dr. Wallach discovered that the root cause of most chronic diseases, things like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, eczema, blepharitis, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, and heartburn are not genetic, and they're not caused by a voodoo curse. They're not caused by aging. Your body's run out of the raw materials it needs. They're nutrient deficiencies. So he had this wealth of information that he was trying to bring to the American public, but he couldn't do it through normal research and publications methods because that door is blocked by the drug companies, and they are not going to let anything through that doesn't have to do with drugs. So Dr. Wallach, in his wisdom, decided to form a company to spread his message of health recovery through medical nutrition, and here we are. FDI Youngevity is your last best hope for living a long, healthy, wealthy life. We are here to build a grassroots coalition of the informed, a grassroots army of people who learn Dr. Wallach's health recovery methods because they're easy. And when you turn your friends and family members onto our message, we will pay you. We're generating an army, ladies and gentlemen. We are fighting a war. We are taking our health back aggressively, and every army needs to be paid. We need your help. Go to fireyourmdnow.com or give me a call directly at 855-347-3696. That's toll free, 855-347-3696. Fire your MD now. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Over and out.